shock me. He just sends a signal, shock. All the voltage.
When it doesn't mess up. Good morning. Good, how are you? Good. When it doesn't mess up, yes. Must have a spirit visiting.
Yes. Thou shalt listen to me and make electronics whistle. Pay no attention to the man behind the screen.
Oh my.
Yeah, I was making sure the amps on.
What are we studying here?
We showed our
Gain was up.
Now, Nehemiah. Oh, there. Look up.
man behind
Look
the
up.
screen.
Welcome to Sunday morning Bible class. Am I standing, because I'm standing under the speaker, or what?
You're good.
I'm good.
I'll take care of it.
I'll say that, no problem. Anyway, we're not giving away jelly this week. We're back to chocolate. Thanks to one of the Bible class patrons, Mr. Steve, supplied chocolate. For Halloween, they've taken these little candy bars and they've shortened the names on them as well. So, Mr. Good Bar, it's all cool because it says Mr. Good. But if you get crack while you're in class, it says it's really crackle. We're not just handing out crack, I promise. Just pass that word along there for those who are interested. So we're in Nehemiah 3, verse and 4. Try to do both chapters. Shorten myself because I didn't get over here in time. Anyways, here's the basic premise. Nehemiah 3, they're going to rebuild the wall. Nehemiah 4, somebody says, stop. And I try to get it to stop. And then it goes on in verse 15 through 23 in chapter 4 that the work resumes. Now I'm going to call off for the microphone. Last week in Nehemiah 2, this kind of sums it up in verse 18. And I told them of the hand of my God that had been upon me for good, and also of the words that the king had spoken to me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for the good work. So last week, Nehemiah went to Artaxerxes. He asked him to send him to Jerusalem to start rebuilding because it was just disgrace and then everything else. The whole society couldn't move on until the walls were built up. He inspected the walls at night. We covered that. And he inspired the people to rebuild. And that's what we see. Let us rise up and build. Chapter 3, we're going to start building. I don't have a whole lot of questions, but we'll see what we get. Nehemiah 3, verse 1. Then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brothers the priests, and they built the sheep gate. They consecrated it and set its doors. They consecrated it as far as the Tower of the 100, as far as the Tower of Hananel. I got this quote from Kaufman's commentary. Nobody was exempt. The entire population of Judah, some 30,000 men, all went to work at one time on the city wall. No wonder it was finished in record time. I like how he put down there, record time. How many times was the city wall rebuilt? So record time, and we'll see. It really turns out to be 52 days. They redo the wall. So Eliashib, the high priest, like many of the nobles and a large number of priests, would oppose some of Nehemiah's reforms. But this building of the city wall was a project that received the unanimous support of the whole population, a fact that clearly surfaces in this chapter. Would you have expected the high priest to join in the physical job of rebuilding the walls? No. Nora says no. I agree with Nora. I wouldn't have expected the high priest to jump on that physical thing. I wouldn't have expected, he got a spiritual job. You'd almost expect that he had some kind of, he'd be behind the scenes urging people to do it. You're doing it for God. Keep it up. Would you expected the list of workers, which this chapter basically is, to begin with his name? Not only is he just working, he's the first name on the list. Wouldn't expect that, would you? I wouldn't have. I wouldn't expect his name to be first. What section of the wall did the high priest and the other priests rebuild? I'm going to give you a map here. We're going to look at a map several times. But what part of the wall did they rebuild? It says they consecrated it as far as the Tower of the 100, as far as the Tower of Hananel. And here's the map. Well, can you see that from back there? Hopefully it's decently visible. A circled area they worked on, that proximity of there. Why do you think they worked on that part of the wall? Why would the priest, those letters are like super small and you can't hardly see it back there, can you?
Well, wouldn't you always start in the front?
Start in the front.
Beginning?
Is it the front or is it the top? Just north? Here's some crack. That's right into it. It says crack right on the thing. It's close to the temple. It's close to the temple. That's where if we go through this chapter, you'll see basically people work close to home. So the priests work close to the temple. Verse 2, and next to him the men of Jericho built, and next to them Zaccur, the son of Imri, built. Chapter lists the workers and their sections of the wall. It goes counterclockwise from the sheep gate. So where were these men from? They were rebuilding Jericho, but where were these people from? Oh, sorry, they were rebuilding Jerusalem, but they were from Jericho. I said it backwards. I said Jericho, and anyways, these guys are from Jericho, came to rebuild Jerusalem. What's this tell us about this project? You got people coming from somewhere else to build the walls of Jerusalem. What's this tell us?
They believed in it.
They believed in it. Yeah, I like that answer. They believed in it. We talked about Jericho on Wednesday night. Mike talked about Jericho in his class on be strong and courageous. Here you go, Wanda. No, unless you want more crackle. I personally like crackle. I like her Nestle Crunch too. That's me.
Okay, that's who church
So, yeah, they believed in this project. The people from Jericho was known as a fortress. It was known as a walled city. So they're probably experienced that. Moving on, verse 3 and 4. The sons of Hesanah, my Hebrew is as terrible as Chuck's. The sons of Hesanah built the fish gate, and they laid its beams and set its doors, its bolts, and its bars. And next to them, Meremoth, the son of Uriah, the son of Hakaz, was prepared. Next to them, Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, son of Meshezabel, repaired. And next to them, Zadok, the son of Bana, repaired. So this lists these workers, like I say, clockwise from the fish gate, so going counterclockwise. So we looked at the fish gate now. The red circles were in their building. So at the fish gate, they started the other one with the sheep gate. Verse 5, next to them the Tekoites repaired, but their nobles would not stoop to serve the Lord. Would you like to be remembered for eternity like this? No. I started reading this chapter, and I see, kind of glanced ahead, and it's like, okay, these people built this section, this people built this section. Here in verse 5, these people, they're not stooping at all to serve their Lord. Not exactly where I'd want to be on that list. Why do you think they behave this way?
We're probably part of the elite.
Yeah, it says they're nobles, so they're probably part of the elite. And we saw last week, we saw Sanballat, we saw Tobiah. We're going to see those guys in a while too. So they're part of the elite. The elite don't want necessarily, as we see in the New Testament, same way. They're not necessarily in touch with what needs to be done. They're kind of looking out for themselves. They might not want to embarrass themselves. They might fear retaliation, but from these other people. So who knows? The Tekoites lived south of the city and were probably in sympathy with Sanballat, were afraid of reprisals. They openly identified themselves with Nehemiah. That's from the New Bible Commentary. It's a guess, like everything else. Verse 6, Joiada, the son of Peasiah, and Meshullam, the son of Besodiah, repaired the gates of Yeshanah. They laid its beams and set its doors and bolts and its bars. And Yeshanah is also the old gate, as we'll see on our map. And that just keeps going around counterclockwise. You see time and again, they set the beams. They laid the beams, they set the doors, they do the bolts and the bars. Remember, Nehemiah got the contract from Artaxerxes to go get the wood from Lebanon, too, to go get the trees, to go get the wood. We were just talking to Paul about that a little while ago, where the wood came from to build the ark that Noah had to. He didn't go to Lowe's to buy boards. He had to go get logs and hew those down into boards to make the ark. And it's the same thing here. You're going to get logs, and then you're going to cut them down and do that stuff. So it's a lot of work. And it continues to go counterclockwise. Verse 7, and next to them repaired Melathiah, the Gibeonite, and Jadon, the Meronothite, men of Gibeon and of Mizpah, the seat of the governor of the province beyond the river. So where were these guys from? You got Hershey's Dark Bar for this straight answer.
Egypt.
They're from Gibeon and Mizpah, the seat of the governor of the province beyond the river. They're in the government. Can we answer that one?
Egypt, wasn't it?
What's that?
Egypt?
No, actually, Israel itself is the, because they're kind of telling it from the point of view of Babylon, so Israel itself is actually the beyond the river province. So for some reason, that's kind of what they're calling it. So, anybody get that one? Brian, a little bit? First dark? I can always bribe Barbara. She needs dark bar. Okay. Next to them, Uzziah, the son of Harhaiah, goldsmiths repaired. Next to him, Hananiah, one of the perfumers, repaired. And they restored Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. So what special talent do these people have? Especially talented people, and they're goldsmiths and perfumers. Would you go out and hire some goldsmiths and perfumers to build the wall of the city? Nora wouldn't do that?
The goldsmith, not the perfumers.
The goldsmith maybe for some of the perfumers. I don't know. But I think it's just the fact that everybody joined in. These guys had special talents. It didn't matter. There was a job to be done, and everybody unanimously was behind it. And we continue to go in a circle here. Next to them, Rephaiah, the son of Hur, ruler of half the district of Jerusalem, repaired. Next to them, Jedediah, the son of Harumph, repaired the opposite of his house. Next to him, Hattush, the son of Hashabniah, repaired. Malchijah, the son of Haram, and Hashub, the son of Pahath Moab, repaired another section in the Tower of the Ovens. So, anyways, the Hebrew continues to get worse. So on this map, it calls it the Tower of the Furnaces, Tower of the Ovens. Next to him, Shalom, the son of Haloesh, ruler of half the district of Jerusalem, repaired, he and his daughters. Well, we got women working too. You didn't think you'd see that, did you? It says his daughters worked. By the next verse, I would say this red circle was probably the area they worked on. Because we talked about the Tower of the Ovens from the last guys, and the next guys we're going to pick up at the, what is that thing? Valley Gate. So I would say him and his daughters repaired a large section of the wall there. So some hard-working women right there. They're recorded with that. Hanun and the inhabitants of Zanoah repaired the valley gate. They rebuilt it and set its doors, its bolts, its bars, and repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the dung gate. So anyways, the section of these walls defines the last ones in all likelihood. And it's, again, another long section. Did that one say? Yeah, 1,000 cubits. So the echoes were just at the ark exhibit. They would be experts on what a cubit is. What is a cubit?
Feet.
No, not unless the king's got a long arm.
18 inches?
18 inches, Wanda says. Not many a kid's Bible class. Terrible stuff. Roughly 18 inches. I think we typically say 18 inches. It was
Somewhere in there.
elbow to the wrist to the thumb. Which is it? Right there. Yeah, from the elbow to the bottom of the hand, Paul says in sign language. So, very tall king, you'd have a very long cubit. I think sometimes the cubits, they said, were as big as 22 inches one time I read. That would have been a very big man to have a cubit that long. But standardly, it's 18 inches. So 1.5 feet, 1,000 cubits, 1,500 feet of stone wall they worked on. That's a long ways. Third of a mile, basically, roughly. That section. Malchijah, the son of Rechab, ruler of the district of Beth Hakaram, repaired the dung gate, rebuilt it, set its doors, its bolts, and its bars. Another section, 15. And Shalom, the son of Kolhozah, ruler of the district of Mizpah, repaired the fountain gate. He rebuilt it and covered it and set its doors, its bolts and its bars. And he built the city of the pool, built the wall of the pool of Shelah of the king's garden, as far as the stairs that go down to the city, from the city of David. These guys started building smaller sections here. But when we looked at last week at chapter 2, when Nehemiah was down in that part, we know that it was pretty rough down there. We know that the rocks, he couldn't get his animal, his horse, his mule, his goat, whatever he was riding, he couldn't even get through that area. A lot more. Okay. Viewers, it is pretty small. The viewers can get a better view of this wonderful map that I borrowed from conformingtojesus.com. There's other maps out there. This one looked like pretty decent. So, and as you can see already from our text in the English Standard Version to this, the names changed a little bit. It's a guesstimate. It's close. It's close. We're at the red circle down in the bottom right at the fountain gate. Counterclockwise, they started at the top, north end of the city at the sheep gate, and they're continuing to build the wall counterclockwise. They're building it all at the same time, but the chapter lists who worked on it counterclockwise, and they went around it. Okay. The rocks and stuff would have been still there. Some of them have been destroyed by fire, but basically they would have still been there. Verse 16, after him Nehemiah the son of Azbuk, ruler of half the district of Beth Zur, repaired a point opposite the tombs of David, as far as the artificial pool and as far as the house of the mighty men. So another section heading north on the east wall. After him the Levites repaired Rehum the son of Bani. Next to him Ashabiah, ruler of half the district of Keilah, repaired for his district. After him their brothers repaired Bavi the son of Henadad, ruler of half the districts of Keilah. Next to him Ezer the son of Jeshua, ruler of Mizpah, repaired another section opposite the ascent to the armory at the buttress. A lot of detail in here. More priests at work in verses 20 and 22. After him, Baruch, the son of Zebai, repaired another section from the buttress to the door of the house of Eliashib, the high priest. After him, Meremoth, the son of Uriah, son of Hakaz, repaired another section from the door of the house of Eliashib to the end of the house of Eliashib. After him, the priests, the men of the surrounding area, repaired. I should have got Isaac to come in there and read this stuff for me. He always does a good job, so. Phoebe shakes her head yes, that Isaac would have done a better job than me. Verse 23 and 24. After them, Benjamin and Hashub repaired opposite their house. After them, Azariah, the son of Masaiah, son of Ananiah, repaired beside his house. After him, Benui, the son of Benhadad, repaired another section from the house of Azariah to the buttress and to the corner. Palau, the son of Uzai, repaired opposite the buttress and the power projecting from the upper house of the king of the court of the guard. After him, Pedadiah, the son of Parosh, temple servants living in Ophel, repaired to a point opposite the water gate on the east and the projecting tower. After him, the Tekoites repaired another section opposite the great projecting tower as far as the wall of Ophel. So the Tekoites did get involved, or at least some other Tekoites, not necessarily the nobles, did get involved. And it continues to go northbound. Above the horse gate, the priests repaired, each one opposite his own house, horse gate. After them, Zadok, the son of Immer, repaired opposite his own house. After him, Shemaiah, the son of Shechaniah, the keeper of the east gate, repaired. East gate. After him, Hananiah, the son of Shelemiah, and Hanun, the sixth son of Zalaph, repaired another section. After him, Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, repaired opposite his chamber. So they're still working next to where they live, basically. After him, Malchijah, son of the goldsmiths. One of the goldsmiths repaired as far as the house of the temple servants of the merchants opposite the muster gate into the upper chamber of the corner. So we're at the northeast corner. We're getting close. And between the upper chamber of the corner and this sheep gate, the goldsmiths and the merchants repaired. Bum, bum, bum. We have a loop. We got a whole loop. They repaired the whole wall. hack through all that stuff. It amazes me the detail that the Bible includes. And so like that, we can compare it to a map, or we can develop our own map. And although I've never been to Jerusalem, I know where the gates are and stuff. So many hands make light work. These people all did it. They're working at the same time. It wasn't like they started at one point and built around. They're all building piece by piece, building it close to their house. It absolutely means many hands make light work. It means everybody joining in to serve the Lord was a very important thing. They believed in it, and they knew it wasn't just to get the wall built. It was to keep the neighbors out. It was to show pride in the city. They couldn't move forward because the city wasn't acting like a city. And this was part of Nehemiah's grand plan. We'll see more of that later. But the walls had to get built back up. The people, each one, 25, 30,000 people joined in to do that. It's pretty amazing. It really, really is. So they all joined in for, like I said, I think it's 52 days is what it becomes. So, Nehemiah 4, verse 1 and 2. As with most things, as things go well, bum, 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 the enemies always drop in. So that's where we're at. Now when Sanballat heard we were rebuilding the wall, he was angry and greatly enraged. He jeered at the Jews, and he said in the presence of his brothers and of the army of Samaria, "What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore it for themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they finish up in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of rubbish and burn ones at that?" So, George D. Hobbs' commentary, I get all this stuff from Kaufman. He quotes everybody else, though. Nothing makes the enemies of the Lord's work any more indignant than the success of God's people. That's a very true quote. People who are against the Lord's work will fuss about anything that you do for the Lord. They will sit there and just try to pick it apart. You can almost hear this guy's voice as he sits there. You remember who Sanballat was? We saw him in chapter 2. He was one of the governors of the province. Sanballat the Horonite. How discouraging could his insults be to those working on the walls? I'm going to say they don't translate well. I'm sure, somebody standing there in English saying, "What are these feeble Jews doing?" You just look at them and like, what do you think we're doing? Will they restore it for themselves? It just sounded, you just know it had to sound different than this. But how discouraging would that be? Have this guy standing there day after day. Yeah, pick up a rock, buddy. Mix up some concrete, something. Don't just stand there. Your work, if we just we didn't really just need somebody to fuss. Pick up and do something else. And yeah, in some of them's brains, it can easily get inside you. What am I doing? Are we really gonna get this job done? It's sat for it's sat for forever. Are we really gonna get this done? We're gonna revive this? Are we just wasting our time? Verse 3, Tobiah the Ammonite was beside him, and he said, "Yes, what are they building? If a fox goes up on it, he will break down their stone wall." So Tobiah throws in more insults. Tobiah's the other guy. Did I take that out? Oh, come on. I took out the best part. All right. I've got a special dark bar. Oh, you can search it out. I got a special dark bar for the person who can say this insult with the most dastardly comic villain voice. Okay? This is a great insult right here. If a fox goes up against it, he will break down their stone wall. Come on. Somebody give me a Snidely Whiplash, the Dastardly Brothers. Is that who they were? Give me the bad guy voice. Special dark bar. What's that?
Yours was the best.
Mine was the best. Oh,
Get a piece of cake.
wow. Suck up. There you go. There we go. I could see this as a VBS skit back here. Room 2, right? See? We could have him come in there. He's got the fake mustache going or something. What is this? If a fox goes up upon it, it'll break down their stone wall. Ha, ha, ha. Where are my foxes? You know, the guy would have like a ton of foxes that he would bring out for this. This is quite the insult. This is just, I don't know. It's a weird insult, but anyways. All right, nobody wanted to try it? Just the suck-ups, that's all. All right. Verse 4 and 5. Hear, O our God, for we are despised. Turn back their taunt on their own heads. Give them up to be plundered in a land where they are captives. Do not cover their guilt, and let not their sin be blotted out from your sight. For they have provoked you to anger in the presence of the builders. This is a prayer. Don't miss out on this. This is a prayer. This is Nehemiah praying to God. I forget what the official word for this kind of prayer is. Basically, he hears these insults, and he prays to God. I want you to hear them. I want to hear we are being despised. I'm asking you to turn their taunt back on them, that they can be plundered in a land where they're held captive. Don't cover up their guilt. Don't let their sin be blotted out. They've provoked you to anger in the presence of us who are doing something for you. And again, this is here for eternity. 2,400 years ago, this was recorded. And we read it right here of him asking God to not cover up their sin. Their sin is still there. We just made fun of it in a dastardly villain voice, made fun of their thing. Do we pray like this today? Would you be willing to stand up here with the microphone that's not here? Would you be willing to stand in front of a crowd and pray like that? Not very often, do we? Maybe we should, you know? Maybe we should.
We're working with them.
And the army of the Lord looking after them?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
I'm going to have a chocolate.
it's different. It's different than what we usually do. We might do that in our own private prayers, and sometimes it's to understand things better. I mean, you don't see that love your enemies thing in the New Testament, do you? It doesn't say that. Your will be done, same on earth as it is in heaven, part of the Lord's Prayer. Does it say that? It does. And that's like the flip side. We usually think of God's will for the good. You know, for instance, baptism. Those who are baptized, we pray that people will find salvation. We pray that they're baptized. But the flip side of that is, we don't even really want to talk about that, do we? Those who don't, those who refuse. God's already said his will. They don't go to heaven. Those who don't find Christ. And that's the flip side, that sometimes we don't verbalize that side. And it pushes people away. But this is kind of maybe one of those things. So we still hear this, we still have part of this. It's just different. It's different. Don't miss that that's a prayer. So verse 6. So we built the wall, and all the wall was joined together to half its height, for the people had a mind to work. So I don't know how tall the wall was, 30 feet? Is that a good guess? It's as tall as the beam in the center of this building would be the full height. So half the height would be where the lights are. You know, the bottom of the lights or so would be about half the height. All these people packed up stones that tall around town. Could you imagine doing that here in Titusville? We've got 48,000 people. I know we don't have stones just lying around to stack up, but it'd be quite an effort. Did the insults of Sanballat and Tobiah, did it stop the people from building? They kept on building. They kept on building. Verse 7, and when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabs and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the repairing the walls of Jerusalem was going forward, that the breaches were beginning to be closed, they were very angry. They all plotted together to come up and fight against Jerusalem and cause confusion with it. I can almost hear that guy. I say we get a bunch of foxes and turn them loose in the town. Then they'll remember my insult. Just turn them loose. So works proceeding. The governors of the area, they're upset. They're angry. They've already tried to stop him when he got to town. He says, I got a letter from the king So you know when they sent back to the king, and they've probably gotten a notice back already. Well, I don't know if they would or not. But the king says, I really want them to do it. So what's next? They've hurled insults. What's their next plan? They plotted together to what? Fight. Look at Nora. She's doing it all today. She's come alive. All right. They're going to fight. Is it a fist fight? This is like after school on the sand lot. Meet you there at 3:35. It's more than that, isn't it? Or is it? And it says to cause confusion. So we're just going to be nasty. It's just kind of all what it is. It kind of sounds like they got an army, but they don't. Verse 9, we prayed to our God and set a guard as a protection against them day and night. What did Nehemiah and the workers do to ensure that the work proceeded? 2 things, 2 pieces of chocolate. We got crack and crack. Crack and, special dark bar. What did they do? They did 2 things to make sure the work can... They prayed. Oops, I got you though. They prayed was the first thing they did. Always a good start. And for the piece of crack, hold it up if you can. They set up protection. They set up a guard. Kaufman had this quote, prayer to God does not eliminate the need for Christians to be alert and prepared to face emergencies. The old song from World War II was, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. So I've heard the phrase, but I was not there for World War II. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. We do that same thing as we face hurricanes and stuff. We know God will watch out for us. We still do what we can. So this is part of it. 10:11. I think I'll get through this in 3 minutes. In Judah it was said, the strength of those who bear the burdens is failing. There is too much rubble. By ourselves we will not be able to rebuild the wall. And our enemies said, they will not know or see till we come among them and kill them and stop the work. So the workers are still stressed. You know, they got a guard, they've been praying, they know God's behind them, but they're still stressed out. So the fight has become, it escalated. We're going to kill them and stop the work. Would you work if you with the threat of being killed? Anybody want to go be a custodian in Afghanistan right now? No. You know, that's just not what you want to do. Work needs done, but man, threat of being killed, I don't know. How do you function? It's a true thing, even to today's society. Like I said, Afghanistan. How do the people there get on with life under the threat of being killed? How do you do it in an area that the police come every night for gunshots and stuff? How do you live in a situation? How do kids grow up and do homework in those kind of situations with that constant threat? Verse 12, at that time the Jews who lived near them came from all directions and said to us 10 times, you must return to us. They didn't really say it 10 times. It's probably one of those apocalyptic language things. So apocryphal language, not apocalyptic. I fell into that trap. Apocryphal language. 10 times means they did it over and over and over and over. Come, return to us. Verse 13. So in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall in open places, I stationed the people by their clans with their swords, their spears, and their bows. I looked and arose and said to the nobles and to the officials and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Be brave and courageous. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. What did he physically do? He stationed the people there with weapons. Spiritually, he says, remember God. Remember what you're doing this for. So he's got a little encouragement from both sides. It takes both parts to truly help. If he just said, God's with you, some of those people are like, I'm risking my life for your words. At some degree, they are. But we see in Joshua, he takes care of things. So that promise isn't necessarily there this time. They've backed it up with physical swords, spears, and bows. When our enemies heard that it was known to us and that God had frustrated their plan, we all returned to the wall, each to his work. What allowed the work to proceed? A, the faith of the people. B, God frustrated the plans of Sanballat and Tobiah. Or C, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. A. I believe in A. And we got another answer? Somebody said B?
C.
C? Wanda says C? Mickey, did you say B?
Yeah, it's one of those ABC things.
It's one of those ABC things, isn't it?
You didn't put all of
It's one of those scams of scams. I think all of the above. Whoops, sorry. I'm not hitting Wanda as good as it was. That's all of the above. It's all of that. A lot of work for C. From that day on, half my servants worked on construction and half held the spears, shields, bows, and coats of mail. They even brought armor into this. And the leaders stood behind the whole house of Judah who were building the wall, who carried burdens. Those who carried burdens were loaded in such a way that each labored on the work with one hand and held his weapon with the other. How's that working? Got your sword in one hand and you're laying rock. It's probably figurative, but still. The work proceeded that basically half were working and half were guarding. Each of the builders had his sword strapped at his side while he built. The man who sounded the trumpet was beside me, and I said to the nobles, and to the officials, and to the rest of the people, work's great and widely spread, and we are separated in the wall, far from one another. In the place where you hear the sound of the trumpet, rally to us there. Our God will fight for us. Now, if I'm working over here and Paul's over there, if somebody blows the horn, we're going to go where the trouble is. 21:23, so we labored at the work, and half of them held the spears from the break of dawn till the stars came out. I also said to the people at that time, let every man and his servant pass the night within Jerusalem, that they might be a guard for us by night and by labor by day. So neither I nor my brothers, nor my servants, nor the men of the guard who followed me, none of us took off our clothes. Each kept his weapon at his right side. Nehemiah, with faith in God, skillfully arming and arranging his men, drove straight ahead with the work, and in spite of all obstacles, the wall was finished in 52 days. And Jerusalem was again a fortified city, 142 years after the destruction by Nebuchadnezzar in 586 BC. Chuck's looked at the timeline. He comes up with a different timeline than some people do. Either way, it had been a long time that the wall had been down. In a matter of less than 2 months, they came together and refortified the city so life, as it should be, could go back on. That comes from Henry Haley. I think this is the guy that's got Haley's Handbook. If you ever want a good book to have or something you want to donate to the library, Haley's Handbook is a good one. Next week, the wall ain't the only problem. Chuck probably won't use that title, but I did. The wall ain't the only problem. So that's where we're at for next week. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for eating the chocolate, even the ones marked crack. So thank you.